in your years announcing, you've seen a lot with the Kings. You've seen a lot with the players.
Just
and
a few things.
Like, I feel like it was a rough go when we had DeMarcus. Got a lot of coaches in and out of that. How stoked are you now that we finally are getting back to having like what feels like a winning team? And not just a winning team, but a whole different culture. I'm sure you've got to observe that firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we all are experiencing. I think, the Mike Brown decision, certainly,
Amazing.
even the Monty McNair decision, because there was a lot of front office turnover as well, right? I mean, there was, between Vlade and before, there was just Pete and lots of different people that were coming in and out of the story.
I was done in 2002 that you moved on to the Kings. I'm wondering if, you had just watched Rene's illustrious career and you thought you were ready to take the next step. Is that what it is?
It's funny. That is what inspired me. That was the moment. I'm like, I have to take the step. I'm ready to go. I huddled real quick and I'm like, dude, Kobe is here already. Yeah. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And sure enough, when we go out on the court to start setting up microphones, getting shots up.
Damn.
2 o'clock. And what I asked someone about it that night, and in subsequent years, because I asked about this story a couple times, like, does he always do that? He would do it clearly for him. He would do it because he knew he wanted just 500 more shots, 1,000 more shots, 1,200, whatever it is, more shots. He would also do it because he knew that he was the best on that team. And for players to see him, if the best player is doing that.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you're not the best player, why aren't you there at 115 then, is his thinking.
All right, man. Legacy Lounge. Sometimes people want to talk.
We have an incredible guest here.
What's up, brother?
The definition of the Legacy Lounge is the stuff that he's putting together. He's a great community leader. His story is amazing.
Okay, welcome back. We have an exciting one today for episode 36. And in the house, somebody that's near and dear to me. We go way back.
We do.
But you guys all know him. He is the voice of the Kings. Welcome to the lounge, Scott Moak.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I thought you were going to give me the big intro like I used to do for you back then. I thought we were building to that.
Oh, man.
Like a fat, pear-shaped dude. I don't know, like a 6 foot something tall. No, nothing. You have nothing. You either,
that's why
Chris.
you're the best, man.
No,
I wish I could do that, man.
You were good at what you were doing, which was shooting jumpers, shooting threes. The quietest. Rene was the Chris. You know this now. Rene would score the quietest 26 points you'd ever see. 21,
Seriously?
23, 21, 24. All mostly behind the arc, but the dude was just you were fun to watch. And I remember that vividly. And that's been a while.
It was a good time, and you were amazing the entire time. To put to context everybody that's watching, Scott, before becoming the voice of the Kings, was the voice of Sac State.
That's right.
Sac State, all kind of sports.
Yeah,
but
lots of sports.
For me, when I was playing Sac State basketball, so I guess in my head, I'm thinking, because it was right after I was done in 2002 that you moved on to the Kings. I'm wondering if, you had just watched Rene's illustrious career and you thought you were ready to take the next step. Is that what it is?
It's funny. That is what inspired me. That was the moment. I'm like, I have to take the step. I'm ready to go. No, I did. You're right. I did some all sorts of sports at Sac State. Yeah. I did volleyball. I did your hoop. I did women's hoop. I did football eventually. So yeah, I was watching lots of Hornet athletics for many years. But yeah, once the call came for the Kings, I didn't stop doing Sac State though.
Yeah,
I was doing.
Yeah, you were doing
I still
both.
was doing both.
That.
It's funny. I haven't really thought about that too many times since, but I didn't want to. Like, oh, I got the big job. I got to peace out. Like, I got to go. Yeah. I wanted to stick for a while and continue to do it, because those are fun games. It's super intimate. Yep. Gym was small. Crowd was great. Players loved it. So,
yeah. We really did love it. We really did appreciate it. And obviously, you're amazing at what you do because how do you make am I correct? You're the second longest tenure voice in the NBA right now. Is that correct?
I don't. That's actually a good. I don't know that. That's a good trivia. I know that the Utah guy has been around a bit, and his name's escaping me. Lawrence Tanter with the Lakers has been around a long time.
Is it was the
I think
Lakers?
I think
it was him.
I
Right?
think
Maybe
you're
up
top
there.
2.
I think
that came directly from Kyle Lawson, and
Yeah.
Kyle
He doesn't miss.
he
too
doesn't
often.
miss.
He's very studied.
He doesn't miss.
He
so-
is very studied. That's a good. Yes. Yeah. Very studied. Devastatingly handsome. Damn it.
Yeah.
How? With all of you guys? What the hell?
Oh man, that guy's.
But he's
amazing,
ripped and handsome and drinking like vitamin water. I'm over here having a milkshake.
I'll give you a real good Kyle Lawson story real quick.
All right,
on
let's
that.
hear it.
So we go to Vegas because, obviously Kyle's big into boxing, huge Canelo fan.
Okay.
So for his birthday, I bought 2 Canelo tickets, Canelo versus Robert Plant. I had never been to a boxing match. So we go to Vegas, go to a boxing match. We had some alcoholic beverages.
Of course.
Right?
Sure.
The next morning, it's we're waking up and it's time to go eat. And I'm ready just to attack. Like, come on, you can paint the picture.
Yeah.
You're ready to eat some food.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And Kyle proceeds to order chicken, but it has to be like hard-boiled chicken. And I'm looking at him like, bro, you realize that we're in Las Vegas right now. Can you order? Can you get a burger? And now he's
No
got
chance.
the chicken and the side of avocado. So
He's the man.
Look at him.
He's the man.
I hear Doug Christie's kind of crazy like that too.
I golfed with him in one of the Kings events, man,
Yeah.
and he definitely was looking for the right food at the food trucks
Yeah,
that
he
they had
does.
out there, and he was amazing time, man.
Yeah.
I got a good time with him, man.
He's great. A lot of those guys. I had a special some special years with that team, with those teams,
Yeah.
right back in the early
of course.
2000s. I did. You were right. I started my first year with the Kings was 2002. I actually tried out in 2000. They had an open tryout. So the guy before me, his name was Fred Anderson. Bless his heart. He passed away. He was sick with cancer towards the tail end of his career with the Kings, and so they had an open tryout in 2000. And I, along with 100 and I think it was 60 some odd other people, tried out. It was at a sports bar. Which doesn't exist anymore. It's
what
where
was it?
So it's where it's on Exposition where that Starbucks is
Okay,
now.
yeah.
I don't even know.
There's a sports bar over
Yes.
there? What was that
Carlos
one?
Murphy's.
Oh my gosh,
oh
I
my
remember.
Is that right?
I think
Yeah,
so.
I remember.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm just making that up, but maybe that is it.
No.
So yeah, we went in there. They had a giant screen and they were showing Kings clips, and you just went one by one up to a microphone just like this, and you had to kind of call as a PA guy a minute and a half of game call, like what you would actually say. So they could weed out pretty quickly, like
yeah.
some of the guys that hadn't really done it before,
I was just
which
gonna
put me, because I had been doing Sac
Yeah.
State hoop and high school hoop before that.
Yeah.
And so at least I had, some familiarity, and I thought I was okay. So yeah, narrowed it down. I got down to the final 4, and they had us each do a half of a preseason game in the 2000 preseason. And I did I think it was the first half of Kings Seattle Supersonics, if that gives you any
I love
indication
it.
of how long ago that was, because
Wait.
that team,
What year? I'm sorry.
that's 2000.
Okay, so this is after Mitch Richmond.
This was after Mitch. Yes, yeah. Yes, because this was Jay Will might have had a year or so left. And then they started making all those moves that led them into 2002. But yeah, I did that half of that game, and I thought I did good. Thought I did, I ripped it pretty good. I thought I didn't make any really errors, and thought I did okay. And they called me a couple days later, got a call from ironically, one of my good buddies now, his name's Seth Bardicke. He worked for the Kings at the time. And he's like, dude, you killed it. Like, it was so good. You didn't get the job.
Oh man.
And I was like, what? Like, I thought the
You
way
thought
it's
you
set
had it?
up, I thought for sure I had it.
Damn.
And I was pretty devastated. I wanted to say things that I'm glad I didn't say. And so I told him in that moment and then beyond, I said, hey, it's okay. I'm obviously sad, but if you need anything, just don't hesitate to let me know.
Yes.
So I kept doing your games. I was doing football. I might have filled in at American River College a couple times. My pops was still a athletic director at Kennedy High School, so I would do his game. So I was staying, just as a hobby, though. This was only a hobby job for me.
You had a full-time.
Had a full-time job. I worked at the Sacramento Children's Home at the time. I was working at a nonprofit. That's really my background.
Yeah.
That's like my real day job
yeah.
is working in nonprofit. And so, I had it. That was just a night gig, that I would just do for fun. So I did stay connected to some of them. Every once in a while, I remember the Kings, and I think it was in 2001, had like a fashion show at halftime where they showcased all the Christmas gear and stuff like that. Like on a runway, they brought players' wives and girlfriends and parents and kids all out to do a runway show. And I like emceed it at the game.
That's awesome.
Because they probably didn't have anybody else to do it.
Yeah.
Like you guys were busy. You're in college still. You're on the road in Boise or something. I don't know what. And like you're already selling houses and you're like 13. I don't know. So, so I stayed connected.
Yeah.
I stayed connected to them. And it was a good lesson for me. For sure. Like looking back, you don't know that stuff as it's happening, but it was a great lesson in like keeping the flames going a little bit. And then in 2002, most of us remember the Ori shot. That was what ended virtually the King season. It was just a couple months later they called and asked if I'd come in for like an informal tryout. They got a new sound system at the arena and wanted to hear an announcer on it. And so I came in, literally grabbed a microphone, walked around the arena with the staff and a bunch of people in there and just ripped it. And they called me a day later, I think. We're like, hey, come back. It's job's yours if you want it.
Amazing.
Been doing it ever since.
Damn. So did you have to leave the nonprofit at that point?
No. I've always had a full-time job. There was a 4.5, almost 5-year period where my full-time job was at the Kings. So I worked full-time. I ran the foundation, did all the philanthropy and work like that. But yeah, I've always had a full-time job. That's always been my fun night job is how I usually say it. Amazing. That's how my kids characterize it as well. That's Dad's fun night job. But yeah, and it is fun, especially as a Kings fan. I mean, my dad was taking me to games when I was a little guy when the Kings got to Sacramento, and in '85, I was a young kid, and I can remember going seeing Bird, seeing Dr. J. Seeing Magic. I mean, that was we had crappy tickets because he was a teacher. Like we weren't ballers. Like we weren't sitting low. But yeah, some cool memories with that franchise for sure.
My grandfather on my dad's side, Papa Bob, rest in peace, was a season ticket holder, and I remember his thing was he would always show up to the game like 2 hours before tip off, and it was just being like a 6-year-old kid being there. By the way, like as you said, you say that like it reminds me of like looking at the ticket prices back then, like probably $12 for like a lower level seat. But I like crazy. Distinctly some of like these memories that I can like remember, like being a diehard Kings fan, are being like a small kid going to the Kings games with my grandpa, because I remember going when they played the Bulls, and like there was, the most iconic figure in your life at that point is Michael Jordan.
He's on the wall behind you.
Yeah. Still, I will fight people if we get into the Michael Jordan conversations. I hate. Hold
on, make a note. Avoid Michael Jordan conversation.
I don't want to go off a tangent. I also have a problem with people that just want to hate on LeBron. But anyways, whole other story. But anyways, I remember watching Jordan just like practicing free throws, and then my grandpa just like talking to me, going, "This is what makes players special." You know what I mean? They're just like, how much practice you put into it. So, man,
those guys were built different. Amazing. And to get to the level that Rene was at, anything. High school sports, you look at percentages, like there's not a ton of people that play high school sports. There's less that play any kind of college athletics, far less that then move on to anything beyond that. You got to be a special kind of person within that. You're talking about a guy, really him, Kobe, LeBron. That's really the discussion, right?
Correct.
Those are the special within the ultra special.
Exactly.
I can remember being at Sleep Train Arena, getting there early sometimes we would have different events for games. Lakers games, obviously huge, right? The Sacramento would just show up, and Lakers fans too would just show up for all those games, come early. The lines would be out, wild 2 hours before. So we would have to do, for our part of the show, the game entertainment stuff, we'd want to get there early, run through different things we were doing. So we were there. It must have been 2:30, 3 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game. And I park outside where kind of, remember where the practice facility was, that actually is still there. And walking in, as I'm walking in the security entrance, kind of going down the steps, taxi, old school taxi pulls up, right? Normal yellow taxi. Kobe gets out of the back, and it's 2:15.
So the team's probably still at the hotel.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. Every single Lakers affiliate is at the hotel. And so I come in and I'm like flustered, right? I like get the hot sweats at that point. I'm like, oh my God. I didn't know if I should like wait and hold the door. Like I was super awkward. I'm like, so I think I did. I think I kind of waited and stalled and, you know, did the cool, like, hey, you know, so open the door, he goes in and I like tell, you know, all the people that work there, a guy named Maurice Brazelton, who's been there forever. The guy that plays Slamps and been there forever. Like, so I huddled real quick and I'm like, dude, Kobe is here already. Yeah. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And sure enough, when we go out on the court to start setting up microphones, getting shots up.
Damn.
2 o'clock. Like, so, and what, you know what, I asked someone about it that night and in subsequent years, because I asked about this story a couple times, like, does he always do that? He would do it clearly for him. He would do it because he knew he wanted just 500 more shots, 1,000 more shots, 1,200, whatever it is, more shots. He would also do it because he knew that he was the best on that team. And for players to see him, if the best player is doing that.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you're not the best player, why aren't you there at 115 then is his thinking. Yeah. That's that Mamba mentality, right? Yeah. That's what he always talked about.
I bet that he also kind of enjoyed just being alone too.
For sure.
Like he probably thrived in that. I don't know if you watched that, the Dream Team documentary on Netflix.
I did, yes.
Phenomenal. And like having them,
so good.
They're all out partying.
Yeah.
And they get back at like 2, 3 in the morning. They're like coming up the elevator and they run into Kobe going down to get his workout in. And then they all knew like that was it.
Next level.
That was it.
So
do you
amazing.
ever take, I mean, when you share that story, do you ever just have to like pinch yourself to know? Because I'm thinking you're calling these games.
Yeah.
And you're calling these games and you're getting to witness history. You're getting to witness just I can't even imagine like buzzer beaters that you've called and legends that you like.
For sure.
You got to call games with Kobe freaking Bryant, LeBron James. Like, do you ever just sit back and just pinch yourself?
I do. I mean, I try to, I think, and this is thanks probably to my parents, grandparents, I do try to be present. I don't know what the right exact thing to say is, but you know, really understanding kind of the moment and being thankful for it and knowing it might not come again. And so really trying to be there. And I was able to slow down time a little bit for some of those moments. Amazing. I remember John Stockton retiring. I remember thinking like, this is a cool thing. Like, this is a really, like, he's not coming back. He was a, you know, a very prominent player in the history of the NBA. Same with kind of Karl Malone. I remember those being kind of hand in hand. I think he jumped to the Lakers before he left. But you know, those kinds of moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a big deal. I'll say, staying on Kobe for a second. So my dad was having some, you know, health-related issues, and when it had a little bit of a scare, he was on a golf course, got a little dizzy, and was, you know, kind of out of himself a little bit. Checks himself in, goes ultimately having a little bit of heart failure. He has a pacemaker. He needs a pacemaker, and they're like, we need to do this right now. So we all, you know, my brother and I, my mom, were all like getting to the hospital, and we get there and it's chill. He's in a good spot and they're going to do the procedure and nobody was worried and it's going to be fine. I get a call from one of the execs, a guy named Ben Gumpert, who worked for the Kings for a long time. And he's like, hey, so it's a fit, you know, Kobe's last game is, I think it was the next night. So we need you to be able to write something up for the intro for Kobe. He's all, because what was happening around the league, I don't know if you remember this in his retirement sequence.
Everybody.
And dude, some of them, I'm not kidding you, you might have seen, some of these were like 3, 4, 5 minutes long. Bless the guy. He deserves all of that. But like that's also hard to do. Like in the current day NBA, you can't like pause, jump ball for 5 minutes. Like as much as I want to go all the way in. So I asked Ben, all right, like, no problem. I'll think something up, write something up. And I'm all, how long do I have? And he's like, I don't know, 17, 18 seconds. I'm like,
get out of here.
You're kidding. Like, that's not even real. And he's like, no, I mean, whatever. You just do it. But I titled it as a note, 17 Seconds of Kobe. And it's in my notepad right now. And like every year that comes up on like a memory Facebook or whatever when I got to introduce him for the last time. And so not only do I remember like sitting there and my dad like at the foot of my dad's like and we're just BSing about basketball and baseball and whatever else. And I'm sitting there like trying to think about something to write in that moment. And then to be able to do that. And then obviously what happened with Kobe. I mean, I appreciate the question, mostly because I feel like we all can always be constantly vigilant, more vigilant to those moments are happening around us all the time.
Yep. Yes.
Really.
Yep.
Like we just have to like tap in, as my daughter says, lock in to like know that that's what's going on in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's crazy when you get deep with it. It's
I
wild.
love it, and we can stay right there, especially on your dad's side. You know, he was a coach, right?
Yep, longtime coach.
I could only imagine the pride that he feels and what the things he obviously showed you by bringing you to the games young, and now the shoe's on the other foot about what you've given him access to as an absolute fanatic of sports and a teacher of sports. How cool has that been?
Yeah, no, it's really special, and he's deep too, because he gets he gets upset at missed free throws. He's like, he's that guy. He's that. Yes. He has like, I even think he maybe sometimes turns off the game when he's watching it at home. He's like, I can't take it anymore. Off. Like he's that guy. Because he cares, and he was a coach and involved in athletics. He was a great baseball player back in his day. He went to Sac State, pitched at Sac State actually.
Awesome.
Yeah. So playing for him as an athlete, because I got to play for him in high school, and then him being able to kind of experience this firsthand, secondhand with me has been pretty special, pretty cool. There's been some pretty cool moments over time that we've been able to share, and being able to do that. I'll say too, now kind of continuing it down, having my kids being able to come and see games, because I have just fallen into like, oh wait, this is kind of cool, I think.
Yeah.
Like it took a while. She's 14, he's 11.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, like, okay, yeah, this might be neat. I kind of like it. So they like coming to games now. They didn't always.
They're just so used to it young and everything, but now they're getting to realize it.
Dude,
sure.
if that was my dad, I'd be like, dude, this is my freaking dad right here.
Man.
Yeah, I'm going to give you their info, and you can reach out.
So the voice, I mean, you have a iconic voice. At what point did you start?
Not really, though.
I think you do.
Not really.
Oh, man.
No, I just yell a little bit, and like, because that was what set me. Like, I'll say during that tryout, I really was like, oh God, these guys have like pipes. Like the guy who ultimately got that job in 2000, his name, and may he rest in peace, his name's Ira Smith. He was an older guy. He was, I mean, voice-wise, James Earl Jones.
Gotcha.
Like,
oh, wow.
I mean, just the best. Like, deep, just silky smooth. The problem is, and this isn't a knock on Ira, this is just a statement about, this is just fact, is the NBA is fast.
Yes.
It's fast.
Yes.
And there is no way you're getting scripted. Yeah. During a timeout, sure. Hey, folks, stop by the kiosk section 124 to pick up your whatever. Like, sure, script that. But like everything else that's happening, especially in game or around game, you can't like write it out and then say it. You've just got to be able to roll. And so, and that was where, to be honest, that's what Sac State gave me.
Yeah.
Sac State gave me the ability to like feel comfortable in those moments when you have to like just describe what's going on. Yeah. It just happened the other night where, and this is good juice too. The other night, you guys watch that Hawks game? That were you there for?
Man, bro.
I know. I don't mean to like bring up bad, because the refs were not super duper, right? They did not have the best night, I would say. Both ways. Yeah. The replay system was out. Oh. So across the league, not just in Sacramento, the entire league. So they were they could still call for replay, but they were just doing it from the truck in the back, from the TV trucks in the back, versus having an actual fourth official on the line. That's what they do. When they put on that headset, they're talking to someone in New Jersey.
They can see it better.
It has different looks. You still have different looks, and I guess maybe they had enough, but wild that game happened with all the kind of things that went on. And one of the other things is that that official decided he didn't want to explain what this convoluted, crazy call was that happened in the middle of the third quarter. So, of course, homeboy gets to do it. Thanks a lot. Thank you for and only giving me half of the info. Like, come on.
That's great.
So, gotta go with it.
Can we also just say real quick, I mean, Rene's a Warriors fan, but he's very even keel. Like you You don't get too tied into things. You call a spade a spade. Like you'll rep the Kings. You know,
he appreciates sports.
Exactly. There you go. Appreciate sports.
Biggest fan of Kings staying here. Oh man, I'm a basketball fan.
A couple things just to talk basketball real quick, but De'Aaron Fox, I feel, does not get a lot of calls. It's wild to me.
Yeah. I'll give credit to just as another aside, one of the guys that I'm tapped into and talking to, and I can have two-way communication with, is a guy named Dan Spackman, a name you've never heard of.
Okay,
he is the one that pretty much, if you've ever been to a game and heard any music at all, it's coming from Dan Spackman. There's a time when we have a DJ, a very handsome DJ or lovely woman over there spinning on got the Corona DJ booth. Certainly, yes, there's some music that they play, but for the most part, all the music is Dan Spackman, he's been there for as long as I have, maybe even longer, a year longer or 1 year shorter, somewhere in there. And the dude is amazing. He is one of the most gifted, talented DJs, but he's also an audio engineer and music director and all the other things that he has to do there. But the guy is just as good as anyone. And he and I talked to each other during the course of the game. And that is his hill right now. It's like, why? When does it happen that De'Aaron starts getting some of these calls that we watch everybody else getting? And I've long been the just kind of call it. I don't know. I just feel like they should just call what they see. Yeah. If it's a foul, call it a foul. Yeah. And a lot of times they will argue. You'll hear that from there. You guys sit close enough probably where you can hear. Just call it. If it's a foul, call it a foul. And it's when they give a little bit or take a little bit. And De'Aaron has just not gotten the give or the take. I mean, he has not gotten it.
And I think he's overdue. He's earned it.
He has earned it, man. He has earned it. I always wait people for them to produce for a while before they start getting to that. He does deserve it, man.
For sure.
One thing that Rene brought up that I want to say while we're on this topic that's crazy for me to watch is Buddy Hield. The Warriors are looking good, right? Like if I had to make my earliest prediction right now of who I think the finals is going to be, Warriors and Celtics is what it's that crazy. I really think the Warriors right now are looking good, and I kind of want to give. I was a little bit of a Buddy Hield hater. I applaud him for what he did for the Kings. I think he's the leading three-point scorer in Sacramento Kings history, that's wild in itself. But I've never seen Buddy Hield look this good on an NBA team.
Perfect system for him. I mean, no question. Although I'm really upset with your prediction because you just jinxed the hell out of my team. Damn it! When he said it, I was like, "Oh, Chris knows what he's doing here."
Come on, it's not called the leg. It's not called the some other lounge. It's the legacy. He's making legacy picks. Let's go, Buddy. Yeah, look, there's a stat I remember that I love when Buddy was at the Kings. Buddy on for one particular a good chunk of time. So they had a good chunk of data on a catch and shoot behind the arc. Buddy was shooting just shy of 85% from behind the arc.
What?
On a catch and shoot. One dribble, 11%.
Oh my God.
Buddy, don't dribble, is what they would say. Brian Gates, Coach Yeager.
Oh.
Buddy, catch it and shoot it. Would Buddy catch it and shoot it? No, he would not.
He kept trying to dribble.
Wow.
Oh God.
And that's
a crazy stat.
That is an unreal stat.
You know.
Oh.
I mean, because when you're seeing it.
It was probably me too. So.
He's a rhythm shooter, which is exactly why you say that system works. I'm not a basketball analyst, but when you see a guy that can easily find his rhythm in that system, it's a little bit why we've seen Kevin Huerter struggle a little bit from time to time. He's a rhythm shooter too, built the same way. If he can find that rhythm, goodness gracious, look out. If he's having to do things he doesn't normally have to do and feel as comfortable to do, you're not going to get as good of a result.
Man,
did you know I ran into Kevin Huerter when he was playing for the Atlanta Hawks when I was in Atlanta. That was his last year in Atlanta, and I also didn't realize that they gave him his own nickname when he played in Atlanta, Cavante. I'm pretty sure it's Cavante.
Yeah, he had a couple. He likes red velvet still. Cavante, yeah, for sure. He talks about that. He's a good dude. That's a good dude.
Yeah, I think it was the All-Star curse. Everything was going really good for Kevin up until All-Star, and he enters that three-point competition. and it just has kind of gone downhill since then. But I think him getting rid of the headband.
You think that was it?
I think that was. I think that was it. And he's got like a really good fade going right now too.
He does, right? Really good. And that red looks good with a tight fade.
Yeah. So
is that 1.5?
No,
think? What
it's
is
a
that?
zero.
It's a zero.
So
what?
So it blends into a one, but. See, when he
there's someone listening that's like, what are they talking about right now?
They know.
Oh my God. When you were growing up as a, can I put you in the category as diehard Kings fan?
Yeah, for sure.
Who were top three?
Yeah.
Some like top three favorite players for you.
Yeah.
Before you became an announcer.
Yeah, I mean, I loved, cause when I was coming as a fan. I mean, Webb always was just just fantastic, and I got to see him on both sides. I got to see him when I was coming to games, when I was buying my own season tickets and sitting up top, section 213, row E, seat 6, I think is my seat.
That's awesome.
I loved Webb. I love how he played like a small guy, but had amazing hands. One of the best passing big men I still think we've ever really seen. I mean, Domas is great. Vlade was incredible in a different kind of way. But Chris, man, and basketball IQ just off the charts. So I really loved him. I joke with Henry Turner all the time. I had a poster of Henry Turner on my wall, and the fact that I get to see and be friends with Henry every day, I make sure he remembers that.
That's great.
Yeah. So I liked his hustle. He was like a forgotten about guy. Like he was still a big dude, but like he was kind of a workhorse. He had to be a workhorse player. So I love those Kings days, Ed Pinckney and Otis Thorpe, that stuff. I remember that as a kid and loved those teams. But then getting into what people a lot of times refer to as kind of that golden years, glory years of the Kings, that early 2000 run, best record and a best home record in the NBA.
Man.
One of those years, 2003 maybe. Yeah. That was pretty fun, and those guys were special. Bobby and eventually Brad, and that was pretty. Doug is amazing.
Yeah.
And Bobby and Doug, I know you too. Have a cool connection with them, and Brad Miller as well. I mean, we used to play. Brad Miller played summer league softball with us. So did Bobby.
Brad Miller is
best first baseman. I'll tell you right now.
His best first
You put a
baseman?
7-footer. I played baseball my entire life. Right, played in little, played high school, played college baseball. Never would I have thought how advantageous it could be to have a 7-footer at first base. It's genius, really. It's the best move you can make.
What a good time Brad Miller is, too, man.
Oh, he's a great time.
Oh, man.
God, he's crazy.
Yeah, Gatorade, coming with full Gatorade bottles. It was nothing like Gatorade, I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yes.
I remember running into him with our friend Dr. Mondo, who's a renowned sports therapist.
Oh, I know him well.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. And it was me, Mondo, and his buddy Brandon. And we went to a Giants game. And, of course, who's sitting right in front of us is Giants-Cubs. Is Brad Miller and one of his buddies. Great. And this is obviously, he's retired at this point. Hammered. Just hammered.
Getting after it.
And we're talking to him. We take a picture with him. And, a couple innings later, we get up to get some food. Armando's buddy Brandon's a pretty big boy. And he decides to order like a Philly cheesesteak and a thing of nachos. Like, way too much food for like one person.
Yes.
And we're walking back.
Not on the Kyle Lawson diet.
No,
exactly.
definitely not.
We're walking back to our seats like on the concourse at the stadium. And who's walking right by us as we're walking by? Brad Miller and his buddy. And Brad Miller just points at Brandon and just starts laughing. He's like, "You need some more food, buddy?" Just shit canned. It was awesome.
I love it. Yeah, Brad just got married. He actually just got married. He's a guy I am remarried also, and so he and I had a little chat about not too long ago about second chances and how precious those are and how to take good advantage. He's got his gal is she's a great person. She supports Brad for Brad. Let's Brad be Brad, man, and that's a good thing for sure.
It's awesome, man.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, and let's go back a little bit on your story and how you got to where you are right now. You said you had the sports background. You played baseball, and where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go to college? Let's get a little bit of that.
Yeah, I played football and baseball in high school. I was a big dude. I got big fast. Like I was tall. I didn't really grow after sophomore, junior year of high school. So I was I'm this same size, maybe a little more pear-shaped now, but pretty much the same size. So I played offensive line. I was a center in high school. and we had a cool offense where we got to pull and do it, like really active offense. So it was fun at Kennedy High School in South Sacramento, Greenhaven, obviously. Played baseball for my dad for those years. We had really competitive years. I mean, playoffs in football. We won the Delta League in baseball. So beat Elk Grove and Davis, teams like that had really solid players.
What position you play there?
I played first, pitched a little bit, played the corners mostly, and then would pitch a little bit.
Got it.
And then I went to Cosumnes and played a couple of years at Cosumnes. Played baseball there. Played with Jermaine Dye. That was kind of my claim to fame.
Yes. I was just gonna ask. I was trying to time it.
Good, and remain good pals with him. Stay connected to him. Try to get him to a Kings game. He'll season will start. He's like, I'm ready. This is a year. I'm coming. Let me know. But he's too busy playing golf. Like the guy plays golf 366 days a year.
Oh, I like it.
Is he from Sacramento?
He's from Vacaville. Yeah, he went to Wilsey Wood.
Where does he live?
In Florida.
Okay.
So Florida and golf, that go together.
So, but his boy, I mean, he's got kids are super talented. Shocking, right?
I bet.
So played with Jermaine, and when I say played, I really watched a lot of Jermaine play. I don't know if I played as much with Jermaine as, but that dude was amazing. You talk about recognizing talent early and easily. I mean, you knew he was just special.
He's a center fielder.
He played right for us. He played outfield in the majors. Started at the. I think the Pirates might have drafted him. I don't know. I
don't know who drafted him, but
and then he went to the Braves really early and had success there. White Sox, obviously, he had the incredible years at the White Sox. So A's had a stop.
I'm an A's fan, so I know
for sure. That's where he had that crazy. Fouled that ball into his shin and broke his shin. Yeah,
it's just freak
accident.
Damn,
freak accident.
That had to hurt.
So went to Davis. Went to UC Davis. So Stingers down. And was going there with the intent of at least trying out, giving it a shot. My dad knew the head coach at the time, Phil Swimley. I think I probably would have got a fair shot to at least maybe make the roster. I couldn't hit for power, so I wasn't a power hitter. And if you're playing the corners, you got to hit hit a handful of home runs for the most part. So, but I was an okay glove guy. I could throw a little relief, but I knew it was going to be a long shot. But I got injured playing summer baseball that year and ended up having surgery my first year at Davis.
Oh no!
So then I knew I was so I hung it up and just became a student. And so worked on the radio a little bit while I was at Davis, just as a little hobby, just side hobby, with a good friend of mine, Eric Hasseltine, who's the play-by-play voice for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay,
so he knew he was a fraternity brother. I know. So he is a fraternity brother of mine. Awesome dude, still close friends with him. And you talk about also Jermaine recognizing talent.
Yeah.
I mean, we were doing a game in Carson, Newman, Tennessee, or something, Davis football, where I'm the color guy and Eric's doing his play-by-play because he was as good. He was as good as anybody on television at that time. Not kidding you, as a college student.
Wow.
And I mean, we had technical failure. We had all this stuff happening at the same time. The dude is like, I'm freaking out. I'm literally pissing myself. I'm so nervous. What's going to happen? Like, I want to throw things. And like, I might be crying. I think I was. And he's just like, we're back, KDVS. Like, we're having something. Like, he was just silky.
Yeah.
Like, it was amazing. And you knew he was good. But so getting the chance to kind of be around him and see that, I knew that wasn't going to be my microphone style at all.
Yeah.
But it did definitely get those juices flowing a little bit about, I wonder what it would be like to do some announcing. And so, kind of took off from there.
Is that where it started? I mean, did you know him before you got on, or for you at UC Davis, or
we were fraternity brothers, and he just needed someone. Like, he couldn't find anyone to come with him on the road to do a radio show every once in a while, because you have a show on campus radio that somewhere between 1 and 2 people are listening at any given time. Most of you, it's your fraternity brothers, so you're begging to call in to the show. Please just give us will you just call and ask a question? And they're like, no. Like, are you kidding? No, I'm not doing that. So you're like, great, thanks. That would have been an interesting 5 minutes, but no, you're not going to do that. So we would just talk. We would just, talk sports, and he knew I could do that. And,
wow.
So that was my first, that was kind of the first foray into it. But then coming back to Sacramento after Davis, my dad was the athletic director at Kennedy still, and so I started doing his games. Started doing football, basketball, boys and girls basketball, and that's when Sac State started. So that's kind of how that got up there.
Man, yeah, from Davis to Sac State, that's an interesting
for
transition, man.
For sure, for sure. But my pops went there. Like I had good. There was always good.
Yeah.
Like, good karma between those
That's
two.
Awesome,
but,
man. I'm glad.
Causeway was always interesting when I would announce the Causeway Classic, which is obviously coming up. I would. It was like I had a rooting interest one way, but then I'm announcing for Sac State, so I got to dress it up for them. So,
were you announcing when LeBron got his first game in Sacramento?
Yeah, I was about to say.
So that was my second season. So then the commercial they did a Nike. They shot a Nike commercial that we all got to be there for. They set it up like a game. They turned on the arena. Everything was on and live. He was there for just a short time. I don't even know if I was there at the same time. But yeah, it was that. I don't know if you remember that Nike commercial.
I remember it. I remember it.
It was super cool, like super fun to do, where everything just kind of stopped.
Yep.
And him looking around and then taking it to the basket. So yeah, got to be there. Called his first points, and I'm not a LeBron hater. I know a lot of people, have feelings about that guy, but I mean, what he has done for basketball, but then also just for like the world. Is like that to me is
he's
amazing.
just it's just if you cannot applaud the guy for what it's. I have no words for it because I played with Otis. You know Otis, Amy.
Oh yeah, Fred.
That's our bet.
I called him Fred at one point. I think on the mic.
No, for sure. That's what he went by back then.
Yeah. We played some pickup games. This was like a year and a half ago because Otis started getting back into playing basketball. Couldn't walk for 4 days. I mean, this is like slow pickup games. I mean, my knees are hurting. Like LeBron is playing full speed.
Yes.
Like he's the pace of the game to me looks like he's in the first 5 years of his career.
I'm more impressed with the second half of his career than the first half. He was obviously freak of nature and had an incredible first half, but the mind came later, where he just had this ultimate confidence, and I've been so impressed with the second half of his career.
100%. I mean, I'm sure you have moments like that where it's funny. Brad Miller always used to say that he didn't understand that in order to play fast, you had to slow everything down. I thought that was such an interesting way to think about like sports in general. But like if you but you can't. It's like when you're in the moment and you're younger, maybe
exactly.
It's like everything's like you're just trying to like do it and keep up and go. But in reality, if you just kind of slowed it down and really looked and surveyed and what was going on, you would make a much better decision. I feel like I could be so much of a better hitter with my mind today than I was back then because I like understand it differently. I don't know if you feel that way about hoop, but like, gosh, it's so he is. I think he's living that.
Yes,
right?
I agree.
We're seeing that
100%. I'll agree with you. The only like one season or one thing that I would point to, and I'm not just saying this because the Warriors, but it almost seemed like Mission Impossible beating the Warriors down 3-1, and that LeBron was a monster. I mean, he was a monster during that series.
They won it, him and Steph Curry in the deciding game in the fourth quarter were both choking their ass off. I'm going to say it. Nobody wanted to take the game. Both of them. I love me some Steph, and I'm talking about one of the greatest ever. They were both not stepping up at the end. And Kyrie comes. I'm just saying that's exactly how I saw it.
He did it. LeBron I think Game 7 was the infamous block that he had. That was on Game 7.
It was
I see where you're going with this. I'm just saying, like down 3-1 to come back from 3-1 against the Warriors might have been one of the greatest comebacks of all time.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure that goes down to it. I agree with that. But he's still, as a player, he's so much. Way beyond more mentally tough now and after that than what he was, because he was still not getting over the hump. And in that fourth quarter, him and Steph, oh man, it was rough.
Yeah,
it was rough.
For sure. In your years announcing, I'm sure you've seen a lot with the Kings. You've seen a lot with the players.
Just
and
a few things.
Like I feel like it was a rough go when we had DeMarcus. We got a lot of coaches in and out of that. How stoked for you, or how stoked are you now that we finally are getting back to having like what feels like a winning team, and not just a winning team, but a whole different culture. I'm sure you've got to observe that firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we all are experiencing. I think, the Mike Brown decision certainly,
Amazing.
even the Monty McNair decision, because there was a lot of front office turnover as well, right? I mean, there was, between Vlade and before, there was just Pete and lots of different people that were coming in and out of the story, and I think to settle it down a little bit, to find some stability in Monty, who then that trickles down to Mike and his crew. Now it's a matter of Mike keeping all these talented coaches that he has, right? Jordy is crushing it. Right now we're going to face them here on Sunday. Yeah. I mean, so now it's like, in order to keep that vibe, that culture, that consistency, he's got to figure out how to retain these assistant coaches, because it's not just him, and he prides himself on that. But yeah, I mean, it is a complete. Been thinking back to those years. There was a lot of years with, where it was tough, where. Love guys like Keith Smart, and love love Alvin. He's still around, and but I mean, what this is doing for the organization, for the city, it's pretty remarkable, and it's obviously fun. We had fun with our part of the game, like the game entertainment stuff. We got a lot of latitude over those years where we were terrible. We got to do some really fun stuff. But there's nothing like winning. Like, it is just so fun. It is so fun to see it and be a tiny part of it. And I feel super blessed, and try to soak it up. I do, though. I think of DeMarcus a lot. I still have the chance to keep in touch with him every once in a while. He still has some obviously ties and roots here to Sacramento. He loves Sacramento. There's no doubt, like, one of the biggest red asses ever in the history of the Kings franchise, for sure. But when I told you guys I worked for the Kings for those years full time, and I did a lot of the philanthropy, was overseeing the foundation and things like that. Unequivocally, one of the most giving human beings I've ever encountered in my life.
I've heard that a lot.
And never wanted credit for anything. Never wanted credit. There's that story that came out that he hates, that he paid that kid who was shot, the Grant High School kid that was shot, and he underwrit the entire funeral, everything. I mean, he took care of everything. Yeah. He did not want that to come out. I think it might have been an elected official or something that slipped and kind of said, "Oh, we don't have to worry about it." That was who DeMarcus was, really. Like, which is so different than how we saw him play. And so I feel like I was in a special spot where I got to sit there courtside yelling his name out at nighttime and watching him just lose his mind multiple times a night. And then, like, off the court, he'd want to go, to schools and help kids and talk to families. And like, I don't know, he's just like, from that perspective, I've never been around anyone better.
That's incredible, man. Talk about legacy.
Yeah.
I mean, kidding. That's where you can clearly pinpoint. That's where the total maturity is, with him.
You just wanted it to carry. And like, he would openly 100%. Almost talk about it. Like, what, dude, what is the, like, it's like you're two people. Yeah. And he's like, I know. Like, buddy. Like, no. But I wish him. He's got a great mind, and he still, in this town, he still does a lot. He's still, his mark will forever, his legacy will be forever here in Sacramento.
What was the just the energy like for you inside that arena when you got to call the games, when we made the playoffs and got to play the Warriors?
Oh yeah,
I mean, that was just next level.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, whatever, a dozen years of pent up anger, frustration, sadness, every emotion on the chart, like, was pent up into one moment of, like, people, yes, we did it, we're back. Meanwhile, Lakers fans were like, big deal. We do this every year. It's no big deal for us. Like, whatever. Oh man. So it was special, and and sustaining that is where it's at. Yeah. Right? That's where real teams. That's where real teams become real teams, and keep that consistency and stay good. Yeah. And figure it out, even though, with injuries, with turnover, with changes.
It's tough, man. It really is tough to sustain when you see these long, sustained teams of winning. It's everybody in the league is so impressed by something like that because they know how hard it is just to win, period.
Yeah, that's right.
That's just wild.
That's right. Any given night. I mean, we know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had to remind a lot of Sacramento Kings fans, though, that, speaking of that Kings-Warriors playoff series that went 7 games and the Warriors won, that's not our rivalry. Our rivalry is not with Golden State. Like I just want to make that clear. Like it might be a rivalry at some point, maybe the Kings Warriors. I think it's fun, maybe the proximity, but our rivalry is with the Lakers. Just want to make that clear.
Lakers fans don't agree with that. That's the hard. It's like, come on, be our rival, and they're like who?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Oh my
And that's
gosh.
what hurts.
I never, ever on any sports, basketball, football, I never want to blame the refs for a loss.
Yeah.
Ever. You just take it on the chin.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. I thought that was coming.
And
sorry.
no, I say and you cannot dispute that we were robbed. And there's
no question.
There's documented. I couldn't believe. I remember how old I was. I think I should admit this, but that run where the Kings got beat by the Lakers, I think I was 20 years old. I think I had a fake ID.
Very good.
And I'm watching the game at a bar with a buddy. And when Bibby gets elbowed in the nose by Kobe and is just pouring out blood, and they call a foul on Bibby?
On Bibby's face. No, his foul was on Bibby's face on that one. Yeah.
Like, it felt like it's hard to even talk about, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that was, hopefully, one of these years. I still think the Kings are missing a piece. Getting DeRozan was a blessing in disguise. And I think low key it fired Fox up. I don't know. Like I was just hearing with DeMar currently being injured. Is he going to be playing?
Yeah,
tonight?
he'll be back. He's supposed to be. I think he'll be in the. I think he might be on the starting lineup tonight. Actually,
that's awesome.
They'll play Clippers tonight.
Yep.
So yeah, he should be back. Domas also back. So yeah, start to get those pieces back. But
we need it. Yeah, but I think all that you heard during the offseason was all about DeMar, and I think. Low key, I have a feeling it fired Fox up.
Maybe.
Or maybe I'm just reading into it, but to do a 60-point and then a 49 piece, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the mature factor, right? Maturing. I mean, these guys come into the league, and I think it's, they don't know what they don't know yet. They have to figure out what their routine is and how their life now works, and I think some guys get it quick. I think De'Aaron is an incredibly intelligent human.
Yeah.
I would contend that he probably knows the rules of the game as good or better than anyone in the association.
Wow.
I mean, his knowledge, it's why if you ever see him arguing or talking, it's never he's never, at least that I've seen or heard. I'm never seeing him talk crap to another player. He's literally trying to help them decipher the rule that person just got called a foul for.
I love that.
De'Aaron's probably the only guy in the NBA that know, or one of the few that know the RSBQ. That's what referees, we can totally geek out on this for a little bit.
Let's do it.
That's the rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness. That's what the referees look for. If you disrupt rhythm, speed, balance, or quickness, it's a foul.
Ooh.
That's it. That's what they use. That's their criteria that they're using in real time.
Yeah.
And De'Aaron knows this as good as anyone. And why? He has also been unstoppable.
Yeah.
Because he knows, he gets into the paint, he knows how to use his body, just like you used to do. And he knows what call he's going to get and what's a foul and what's not. And he is coming into this moment where everything's coming together for him. It's really cool to watch. We're talk about a moment, we're getting to watch it.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That is awesome.
DeMar also is recognizing it. You can see DeMar, I think I even heard some comments him talking today. He is no, De'Aaron's got it.
Oh,
he is.
That's
He's on
wild.
Mondo talks about unlocking and all that stuff too. Dr. Mondo, right?
Yeah.
Talks about the cheat code and all that. De'Aaron's found that. We just got to keep it rolling.
That's
because as you're saying it, it's all clicking because you can see it in real time. It's crazy too because when De'Aaron has those drives where he just real quick and goes up, it looks like he's not going to pull the shot off. Like from the angles that I see, I'm like, there's no way.
Totally.
And he pulls it off every single
Every
time.
time.
You mentioned DeMar. You know who I think low key, not, but to me, one of my favorite players in the NBA is Shea.
Gilgeous-Alexander.
Hands down, because he literally
he's so good.
Slow. It's like watching slow motion poetry.
Totally.
It's wild. Yeah. DeMar is a little, like I said, low key.
Yeah.
But DeMar kind of reminds me a little bit about that, because
I'm not mad at that.
DeMar slows the game down, and he just gets to his little
spot. Gets to his spots.
He plays what I call like old man ball.
Oh yeah, that's for sure what
old man. It's not sexy.
Yeah,
but he just finds his spot. He'll post you up a lot, back you down. He plays a lot bigger. He doesn't even look like he's 6'6", but he plays
big,
like he's 6'8".
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I totally agree. I don't know if even just as a player, do you know those areas? Those 3 areas that you just want to get to?
Yeah.
Do you find those? Yeah.
As a player, you find those. You know where your comfort zones and want to get to a specific spot. So for sure. And that it's different for everybody, but it just the basket just makes sense from here. Right. Like that's what it is.
Isn't that funny?
And you'll seek out those spots.
Yeah. I love that.
And then there's like the crazy players that position is anywhere.
Yeah, right.
Like the Kevin Durant's, the Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
What's the guy, by the way?
They still get to their spots, though.
They do.
Still get to those spots.
Yep.
But the way DeMar, I love the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander connection.
Yeah.
I think Shea is able to get even a step or two closer to the basket than what DeMar often. DeMar loves that little mid-range.
Yes.
And I mean, when he's shooting those look like layups.
Yeah.
Those are like a short jumper version of a layup to me. And it also poetry. I mean, watching DeMar play like that. And I love that guy. I loved him before he came to Sacramento. I think we all love his game, but I also just from, to again channel our friend Dr. Mondo, what that guy did for topics around depression and it was really unheard of between Kevin Love, who said that he was dealing with panic attacks while he was in uniform.
Yes.
DeMar and maybe Michael Phelps. I don't know of any bigger athletes that have brought the topic of those kinds of topics to us, and to be willing to do it, because it's obviously you got to be super vulnerable, willing to be super vulnerable about that topic. So I love DeMar for being willing to step out and talk about it, and he still does, and he still talks about it.
I don't know why this made me think about this, but Mario Chambers, is it Chambers? Chalmers. When he played with the Heat and they were on the airplane, and apparently he took some edibles, and he had never taken an edible.
What a time to try.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
Like, sit in your living room and try it.
No, did you guys not remember this?
No.
Oh, well documented. Like, there was another player or players on the team that, well, let's just call it, were experienced in taking edibles.
Okay.
So he didn't know he took it?
No, he knew he took it.
I was wondering if he accidentally
legit lost his mind. Full-blown panic attack.
Oh, wow.
They
Wrong
had to
place to do that.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. That sounds terrible.
I wonder how do you reset?
Just some deep breathing.
Right.
Just deep breathing.
Someone let him in that.
Oh, no.
Let's talk about your involvement with the Sac Republic.
Yeah. Love it. From basketball to soccer, man. I wasn't a big soccer guy. Because I was like a large human for most of my life. So I wasn't really, like, I'm not that speedy. My little guy, my 11-year-old, is like super fast, quick.
Yeah.
And I watch him and I'm like, wow, that's fascinating to be able to run like that. Like, it's foreign. So I didn't play a lot of soccer. I think I ended up in playing goalie my, fifth grade, sixth grade, and then I was done after that, because this is useless. So, but coming to Republic, I came, I think I'm 6 seasons in, and it's been a wild ride. We've been a little bit all over the place, had some good news, had some terrible news. We've been consistently good from a play perspective. I mean, making the playoffs, I think, every year but one. Which is just unheard of when you talk about consistency and culture and all those kinds of things. But yeah, it's been a wild time to be able to be part of the announcement when MLS was headed to Sacramento with Ron Burkle. He was the guy that was coming in to be part of, and there for the phone call when that came crumbling down was brutal. And then to see it resuscitate over the last couple years, and then just, I mean, obviously super recently. You know, the tribe, Wilton Rancheria, stepping in to buy a majority of the club. So they're now the owners of the majority owners of Sac Republic with Kevin Nagel, and buy the land in the rail yards and building the stadium. So
is it happening? I'm like out the loop.
Oh yeah.
I just brought you in the loop.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Because it's like well, you're not from Sacramento, but you know.
I've been here more than half my life.
Okay.
Now, man. So
That's nice. I like that.
yeah.
It's like every time you're driving on the freeway and and you're looking at it and it's just like, am I going to be alive before they develop this?
Preach. I think about it constantly. I literally still, to this day, I drive, going to my parents live in Atomas.
Yeah.
Going down, I'm like, and you look and you're like, get it together.
I know.
Sacramento, like get your stuff together. And now that's happening. So it's really been a long time coming. A lot of groups working together, the city and the Kellys, DRV, the Downtown Rail Yard Ventures group, the tribe, obviously, behind with some amazing guy named Chris Franklin, Jesus Trongo. He's the chairman. Jesus is, and then Chris Franklin, both Sacramento guys. Jesus, the chairman, he's the leader of the tribe. He went to Valley High School.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Chris Franklin, who's the CEO, the head guy, went to Jesuit. Like that, 7 generations of ancestry here in Sacramento. Like Jesus talks about his great grandmother's blood on the land that we all walk on here in Sacramento. I mean, it's like, I know. Awesome. Like these people,
that's awesome.
The spiritual, maybe that's part of why I've also kind of been on this little spiritual kick lately, because they bring that out.
Oh,
like they get you thinking about things. They talk about making decisions that are for 7 generations to come. Like really thinking far down the line, not just with your kids and your kids' kids and your kids' kids, but like really making decisions for future, because they were robbed of being able to do some of that, and are now starting, I guess, to get some of their foothold back and making some good decisions, some good business decisions, diversifying. I mean, and so these are insanely smart people. They love Sacramento. They love this town. They love people and cherish just humans. And so it's been a while. It's been really cool to get to know these guys and see what they're about ready to do. I mean, hopefully we'll have shovels in the ground in a couple months. I'll invite you guys there. You can wear a hard hat if you want.
Let's go, man.
If you haven't come to a game, though, I will say that happens all the time. For people that haven't been to a Republic game. Sure. All right, sure. I'll go to it's soccer. Like, sure. Great. I played when I was 10, and like my kid plays or whatever it is. And then they come.
Yes.
And it's like, that was one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Exactly. It's a great time.
And the stadium, like where we are is not the best. It's hard. It's a challenging environment. That's why we've needed something else for this region and for soccer fans, and for the league wants us to have someplace new. It will be incredible to see this thing happen and come through in the next few years. So
I went to one game last year with a couple of buddies of mine, and you're right, it is a lot of fun, and it will be a lot better when we get to play in our own stadium. Have you ever been to a soccer game in Europe?
I have not been to. I went. So wife and I went to Italy. And I saw a U20 game in Italy, not the same. So no, I've never seen an EPL game. I've been to a few MLS games around the country, but never been overseas.
I'm not a big soccer guy. I'm like, when the World Cup's here, I'm glued.
All in.
Yeah, women's and men's, I'm glued. My household I'm with three ladies. So it's Kendra and her 2 daughters.
Nice.
And the 13-year-old is an avid soccer player, so we'll go to her games, and I get to kind of live through them.
You bet.
But at heart, it's football's number one.
American football.
Yeah. 49ers fan.
Yeah, there you go. Me too.
Then right below that, I'll say Kings. And then below that's baseball. More like a baseball has to be in person. I like going to day games.
Yeah.
Don't really tune into baseball until it's like October time.
Okay.
I've never witnessed anything greater in my life sporting-wise than going to a soccer game in another country.
Wow. How about that?
Which one was it? Say it again.
I got to see Messi play on his last year for Barcelona.
Oh, my goodness.
And, bro, let me just tell you this. It's a whole process, because everyone takes the trains to get to the game. Nobody's, like, driving a car. They're all taking trains. So like the start time like begins when you're on the way in the trains because people are partying. It's loud. Everyone's geared up. Then you get out the train and you're walking to the stadium. The stadium capacity is about 110,000. So, I mean, I think most NFL stadiums are like 60, 70,000.
Yep.
I really want to go experience like a college football game. I've never, outside of like going to like Cal Bears games, but I think the capacity for like some college games is like 100,000, I believe.
Yeah.
Big house and stuff.
But we're talking fireworks, and then you get inside, and it's hard to even describe. It's just like whatever that level 10 is that you can think of, it's that way for the entire game.
That's wild.
There's a reason they don't even serve alcohol at these games. They serve like 4% beers, and then they cut you off at halftime.
That's right.
But yeah, highly recommend it if you're ever like traveling abroad, whether it be London, anywhere in Europe, South America. Go to a soccer game there. And it's pretty wild.
It is. I mean, they call it the world's game, for a reason. Other countries have figured that out. We're just, we're trailing along a little bit, but it'll be great to see what happens with that. Super exciting to be part of it for sure.
What's your take? I'll ask you the question, and then we'll kind of dive into it. What do you think the chances are that we keep a Major League Baseball team here? Do you think they're going to stay, or do you think they're going to ultimately go to Vegas? What would your take be?
I think that we will have this team for 3 years. So we can make a lunch bet, right?
Okay.
I think we're going to have this team for the full 3 years. I think then that team will move somewhere, and I think we will have then a chance for another team. Is what I think.
I like how he said somewhere.
I just don't know.
I don't think they're going to get to Vegas, man.
It's a nasty path. I mean, they're not having the easiest.
They're not having the easiest times. And shoot, Mark Davis doesn't even want him in the same town. He doesn't.
Tough,
they hate
man.
each other.
Yeah.
I heard something. You're a West Sac, a proud West Sac resident.
That's exactly right.
It's funny, like hearing like the different takes from Sacramento residents on getting the baseball team coming here. Like it would baffle me that anything other than excited.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing like negativity.
Yeah. Well, I think there's one group that I actually think it goes back. It conjures. It's like triggering from Kings relocation saga
we've
times,
heard this, huh?
Right? Where it's like, oh, it brings back like I didn't want the Kings to leave. How could you, Virginia Beach or Seattle or whatever it is? How could you possibly be willing to root on our team, steal our team, and root on our team? I think there's some of that. Like we have those feelings, and our hearts go out. Like my heart goes out to Oakland fans. Granted, many of them are in Sacramento.
Yeah, you're right.
But sure, but
here I am.
But like my heart goes out to them that like they're losing their team.
Yep.
It still you could see them still
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
is my feeling. Like just come here then.
Yeah.
It's just like a temporary, temporary move.
And your car won't get broken into. Carry on, Scott.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother. There are elements for sure. Elements in West Sac though. We're dealing with some of our own stuff. But no, I'm as a baseball guy and as a sports guy, like I can't wait to see what this looks like. Thinking about a June afternoon.
Come on.
Against and I know everybody runs to like Aaron Judge and like the Yankees, but like how crazy to come and watch the Baltimore Orioles play against the Sacramento A's on a weekday. Like it's just wild to me that that's going to be our reality. So I'm excited. I mean, I'm like a mile away from that stadium, so for me it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. I can't wait to take the kids and experience, be able to experience it easier.
You and Kai, I mean, I don't know if you know too much about Rene's family, but his daughter just got a scholarship to play softball. What's the college?
Concordia University,
I saw you post
D2.
that,
Yeah.
And his son is a stud baseball player, so shortstop, lefty, and I'm sure you're going to be taking Kai to some A's games.
Yeah, we love going to the games. Obviously, we're big time A's fans. It was great when I was growing up. It hasn't been so great as I've become older, but seeing my favorite players always leave, but we still always showed up at the games, like no matter what. So same thing with the Warriors. I mean, when I was young, they were terrible. Like we would always be at the games though. So I've been. It's cool. you know you're a fan, and you know you deserve the good times when you've been through all the crazy bad times, right? That's why the Kings fans deserved to win that championship and not have it taken from them, because they had been through it all, you know?
Yep. I just, my first couple times as a kid being introduced to Oakland Coliseum, I was scared as shit. That's what my memory was. I remember my dad, we're Niners fans, but he was like in construction. He got like a couple free tickets for a Raiders game. I was probably no older than like 10 years old. And going into that Oakland Raiders.
Where were your tickets at? Were you on?
I don't even remember. I was just scared.
You
Everyone was smoking. That was my first time.
Not for the weak of heart.
Yeah.
Listen.
My first time going, Dad, what is that smell?
It's Oakland. It's Oakland.
It's weed.
Yeah.
Which is Oakland. Yeah,
exactly.
And then the horse troughs. I'll never forget, like being a 10-year-old having to take a pee and being like, wait a minute,
What is happening?
I'm pissing in a bathtub. What is going on
100%.
here?
100%.
Yeah, third deck. Even Raider fans know third deck is rough. It's
That's for the real.
That's the real up there, man. There's been a few times I'm like, man, no, this is my home, but I'm not sure I'm safe. So yeah, I'm glad. I haven't been to Vegas yet, but you know, we have no teams in Oakland anymore. It is what it is.
Wild to think.
It is what it is, man.
Wild to think that. Oakland, if you're a soccer fan, Oakland Roots still, of course, playing there. They're proud to be the only Oakland team. But
we got the Oakland Ballers for baseball.
The Ballers,
you know,
that's true.
I'm happy with that. You know,
there is a new group that took over the Coliseum that's going to be using it as they are now they're managing the facility.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to want to make a play at some point for something.
Let's see what they do, but that will be, you know, going to the future. It would be absolutely amazing to see baseball, basketball, and soccer in that little triangle in Sacramento. That could be an amazing time after they do the rail yards and everything, man. Just think of that, man.
I know. Someone talked about a Saturday. Every once in a while, you can get a 2 p.m., 3 p.m. game on a Saturday, right? An ABC game, NBA on NBA on NBC game in the afternoon. And then later, a Saturday night game, Republic, you could just walk from one, do like a double ticket. That would be pretty sweet,
amazing.
Right?
That's amazing, man.
Let's make that happen.
I love it. I love it. We touched on like the maturation process of a lot of players out there. Tell me about yourself and how have you matured since 2003, 2002 when you started with the Kings compared to where you are today? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, learned a lot. I think that like professionally, I would say, you know, I've always been a guy that I've enjoyed kind of having my hands in a lot of different things. I've been lucky to not have to just have one thing that I just do all the time, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, for me, I've always had this kind of nonprofit kind of career somewhere happening.
Yep.
Always had kind of the sports connection, and then usually have some other kind of thing riding sidecar to that. So yeah, I've definitely learned a lot about myself, what I like doing, where I like spending my time, where I don't.
Yeah.
You know, as we get older, I think we realize it's probably learning more what we don't like makes it easier.
Yeah.
Because then you just do that less.
Yeah.
So I've really settled in. I feel like I'm super lucky now. I just got married again a couple of months ago, and so that's been fantastic. I'm in such a cool spot there. Kids are in a good spot with just their lives, and then with all the work stuff between Republic and Kings, exciting, all that exciting stuff. Host a TV show, which is super fun every day, and do a little consulting on the side too. So just stay in bit. I think so. In all, just really focusing in on what it is that that I truly get joy and happiness from, and do those things more. Yeah. And the things that drive me crazy and piss me off, I don't need that. I don't need that.
I love it.
So
where's Scott at 5-7 years from now? What's in the future?
Ooh. Well, I want to be retired. I'm older than you guys, so I should really start thinking about retirement at that point.
Oh man.
I've got my wife's a little bit younger, so we'll bring another one into the world here. So I'm going to be grandpa dad.
All right.
Here at some point. So I'll be the full head of gray hair carrying a baby around.
That's amazing.
What I'm going to be. Which I love the idea of.
Yeah.
I always wanted more kids, so it means more soccer and Little League to watch, so I'm fine with it. If I can go watch, it's literally one of my favorite. You have to be feeling this, and just the chance to go out and sit like and watch and like so if you can take yourself away enough, because I know there's some parents that like, especially these days,
it's wild.
It's too much.
It's too much. It's wild.
You got to like dial that back a little bit, and then you're going to be in this really sweet spot where you're like getting enjoyment over watching this. I love going to watch Asher play soccer.
Yeah.
That's my little guy, Asher. Soccer, basketball, baseball. Like it's like my favorite thing to do.
It's the best.
Oh,
it's the best.
I was having lunch with a buddy of mine the other day, and he's gone through some crazy stuff in his life, but he went on like an ayahuasca retreat.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like wild. But it helped him. He's now 5 years sober. He had a pretty big drinking problem.
Okay.
Anyways, just on that, as you're talking about just enjoying like going to the kids' sporting games and like watching sports, and we're sitting here talking about sports, there's just something kind of therapeutic in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's why we connect to it. And I'm having lunch with my buddy, and he's always getting like extra philosophical with me. And there's a time and place for it. And I just look at him and I'm like, bro, I'm just a sports guy, dude.
Yeah.
Like I love what you're like. We're going down this rabbit hole of like a really deep conversation, but like that's why I love golf. Like when I go golf, like, you know, Rene and I joined a country club during COVID. He still belongs to it. I had to pull out, you know, just wasn't fit in the bank account. But that was one of the things I enjoyed so much is like,
you bet.
We're not talking about anything for the next 4 hours. Like we're just golfing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's what sports does. And as you're like
100%.
painting that picture of like going to the games, you're right. Like I'll go to like a little different for me being like stepfather, but still it's super therapeutic.
Yeah.
And there is always that one parent like on the sideline. There's one guy and he's just like constantly like for the entire game. And I'm just like,
they don't enjoy it at all. They're just stressed out.
You're not enjoying the game.
They're stressed out.
And more importantly, I'm like, and this is another, this is more of a humor thing. I'm looking at him like, you weren't ever that guy. You were never that guy. So just sit your ass down.
You weren't that guy. Yeah. And again, like most, like, you know, I've coached Little League now for a few years. And which is that's baseball. That's the only sport I feel remotely qualified to coach, because people are always like, "Oh, you should coach soccer. You should coach whatever." And I'm like, basketball. I'm like, nope, I have no fluency. I couldn't run a basketball practice. I have arguably watched more basketball, especially from close up, than most human beings.
I'm sure.
I could not run a basketball practice to save my life. I wouldn't know what to do. Baseball, I could give you 14 hours of drills right now that I could run you through, right? Like it's just some of the things just come naturally. But like some of these adorable parents, I'm like, let's look. Your kid is not going to play at LSU. I promise you that right now. Okay, so let's just take that out of the equation. Like this is for him or her to have fun over the next few years. Soak it up. It's going to go away. So just enjoy it while we're doing it. And don't put so much pressure on yourself or that kid. But like parents don't, it's just hard. It's a hard space for them to come to.
And or just be like, look at the parents of the kids that you know are going to go somewhere and observe them. Like we've had we had Anthony Manuel on our podcast, who's one of our first guests, and he's got a son that is balling in baseball. And he's got a very similar. I mean, both of his sons get coached
with Anthony.
With Anthony,
yeah.
But I can see it. Like I remember the first. I've only been to one of Lexi's games, and it was like probably one of the most important games.
It was a section championship at Sacramento State.
Oh wow!
So, yeah,
and for me, I'm like, oh, this is incredible. And seeing his posture and his mannerisms, I'm like, aren't you gonna talk some shit right now? Renee's hella calm. Like you can clearly see. We clearly saw during the game that their coach was fucking up.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yep.
And Renee just fine. It's not my you know what I mean? It's like
I love that.
I gotta applaud you for that.
Yeah.
I admire it, especially with that competitive spirit. Like, because when you're a D1 athlete, and like we talked about earlier, like the special of the special, like you are there's a different wiring in there that not even we can understand. Like nobody can understand, and for you to be able to like regulate and manage that is so impressive.
Yeah,
because there are times I know you want to be like.
It is, and there's definitely more going on than I show on the outside.
Yeah.
I learned that playing basketball. I will say this, you know, obviously basketball was my life. I was with football players all day, every day at Sac State. I wasn't around the baseball players as much, so I was least familiar with baseball. Now being on the parent side, it's, I believe, baseball superior to either of those other sports is such a better teacher of life in general. The patience that it takes, the patience that it takes as a parent in that. I mean, you have to sit on that at bat for maybe 20 minutes or 20, 30 minutes before you even get another chance. You know all about that. And that's more what life is, that ignorance on fire once the ball gets tipped, that I can go out there and get my rage out. That's not really life, man. It just isn't. So.
Ignorance on Fire. That's a spin-off podcast here. That is a To the Legacy of the Iron. Like, that's the parent podcast. This Innocence on Fire. That's that, right? Ignorance on Fire.
Chris likes that idea, right? That would be a good one.
I'll just give you some insight. We don't share this with everyone, but I didn't even want the name to be Legacy Lounge. I wanted the name to be From Oakland to Sacktown. Rene, he's a businessman.
Yes, he is.
All right? And he's like, oh, that won't be good for business. I'm like,
oh, man. Hey, listen.
I feel like you guys made a good decision, though. I mean, in retrospect, I feel like you're kind of doing good.
It pigeonhole us into one like the stories here have been great, but it doesn't all have to be sports. You know, I love everything sports, but we've touched on everything. So I really, really think that it's an amazing thing that we ended up here. And I didn't want to pigeonhole us, so I think it's right.
So this all came about because we were doing these things called backyard talks for almost a year, and it was all real estate focused. And it got to a point where I'm like, I think people know what we do for a living. Like, I don't think we need to like continuously share stuff about mortgage rates. And let's dive in and like actually do something where we can both tap into our passions, which is storytelling. But it's crazy what this has evolved to, because getting to sit down with people like yourself and get to hear like the full story, like I've been hearing your voice for damn near 2 decades.
Sorry.
You know?
Yeah, poor this guy. Oh my God. I was like screaming at him.
Well, I'm trying to make the shot, Scott.
Right?
I'm trying.
Right?
That was back in the day when the basketball shorts went to like right here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But no, this has been one of the biggest blessings since I've been friends with this guy is having this platform where people get an opportunity to share their story. You know, we've had some real lax podcasts in here, but we've also had some like tear jerking moments, and it's special. You know, it's special to like be able to document it and then like be able to reference it at a later point.
And kudos to you guys for being able to toggle that much. You know, to be able to pivot one side to the next and let people talk about whether it's fun, glory days, sports stories, or things that are meaningful in their lives. Like, that's our true talent, to be able to go both ways. That's I feel like, especially where we are as a society, I feel like that's what we're lacking a little bit of that, frankly. Being able to like listen and understand and be open. And, I feel like we need a little bit more of that. So keep doing. I don't know how many times a day you're doing this podcast, but maybe just step it up.
Yeah.
5 times a day. What are you doing? 7 episodes a day? Let's go. What are we slacking here?
Man,
eat more chicken.
More chicken. That's where it is.
Get more protein. Call Kyle. A couple more boxing sessions and get some more protein in that body.
Oh, yes to all that.
I actually I've lost a lot of bets with him, and on that chicken, do you want to hear a funny story?
Oh boy.
But we're playing El Macero, 18th hole, and this guy's got like a 40-foot putt. It's a long putt. Was it about 40 feet?
It was super long.
It was super long. And I bet him a bunch of fried chicken. I'd pay for a bunch of fried chicken if he made the putt. So he's like lining up for the putt, and as he's in his backstroke, he goes, fried chicken.
I think I said, I like chicken. It was like a double breaker, and it drops. That's how much of a fan of chicken I am. I miss 2-footers all the time.
But
for chicken,
you put that on the line?
Well, the thing was more backstory. We had already planned that like after the round, we were going back to his house with some buddies, and we are going to order a bunch of fire wings and hang out. Yeah. So it wasn't just like me. Like, that sounded kind of random. Like, I'll bet you some fried chicken you don't make that.
Right.
That doesn't even sound good now that I'm saying it. But, that was a little
Awesome,
reference point.
man.
But,
Well done.
yeah.
Oh man. Well, hey, before we start to wrap up, I mean, obviously being in the Legacy Lounge, I know you've kind of touched on it, but I just want to go a little bit more in depth. Off camera, I said the same thing. Every time that I hear somebody that has met you, knows you, they always say the same thing about how amazing you are as a person. You keep touching on your philanthropy as well as being part of these nonprofits. Can you dive a little bit further into the impact that you've made through that? Because that's where true legacy is, and I would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I think some of it's probably just grown up. My dad was a teacher. We lived in South Sacramento. I'm a privileged white dude. I had our family. We didn't struggle. I didn't struggle a whole lot. But like I saw, like a lot of my friends, especially in the high school, that were coming from Meadowview, another kind of the other side of South Sac. I just realized why do they not have things that I do? Why is it harder for them? Life is harder in many cases for them than it is for me. And there were these times where I felt like it was just like unfair or lucky. Like, why was I so lucky to have fallen into the situation I was in? And I know I can remember having talks with my dad about it and it like bothering me a little bit. And like, he's like, well, fucking do something about it. Like, don't just sit and like try to understand what people go through. So I give him a lot of credit. 'Cause he as a teacher, he taught at Burbank, he taught at Kennedy. He saw a lot, he saw a good amount of diversity and challenge and all the things. So he was a good compass, I think, for me. And so I kind of knew when I started in school, I knew I was going to do something that was either around teaching or social service, social work kind of stuff. And that is what I ended up really loving doing. I mean, my first internship at Davis was back in Sacramento through Sutter Health. I worked for a program called CalLearn, which was a home visiting program for pregnant and parenting teenage moms.
Oh, wow.
And I was a home visitor.
Wow.
Like I would go into there. I had a caseload of, I don't know, I probably had 20, 25 cases on my caseload as an intern. I had a person that I still to this day admire and adore who was like my supervisor manager, just making sure I wasn't going like off the deep end with any of the stuff. And I was totally out of scope. Like I was new. I didn't understand quite what I was doing, but a lot of it was just helping these young women problem solve. And I'm like 20 years old. I know. So, but I remember thinking some of those same thoughts, like, damn, it just sucks. Like I'm sorry you're in this position. Like I used to say all the time, like, I can't relate to what you're going through, but I can understand, I can empathize, and I can help you.
Yeah.
So the way the program was structured is they got a benefit to their, at the time it was called AFDCs, to their welfare check if they stayed in school, if they were going to school.
Yeah.
So just attendance at school, they get more money in there because ultimately there's a give and a take, like depending on some of your social theories. Like it was better for them to be in school, even though the challenges they're going through. And I remember loving that program so much. And like my job when I was at Davis, a lot of guys were tending bar, and I worked at a childcare, a daycare center.
Wow.
So that was where it kind of started. Once I moved back to Sacramento, I worked at the Sacramento Children's Home. I worked at a adoption agency. I worked in Del Paso Heights for a long time. So kind of bumped around a little bit from nonprofit to nonprofit, but that was really where what I love doing, and a lot of that's just giving back to, because I was fortunate in my life, and so being able to figure out how to use some of that when it then moved into the Kings and like a little bit more on the philanthropic side, where you can use basketball or use a sport to do. Because I'll tell you right now, I mean, I used to talk to Cuz DeMarcus about this all the time. Like we could go in, any of the three of us can go into a elementary school right now and talk about the importance of reading. Yeah. Why it's important, why we know it's important. Yep. Because what it's gonna do for you down your career. It's gonna help you with all sorts of other things. Like you got to read, like blah blah blah. Yep. Right? We know that, and we could share that message. If DeMarcus Cousins comes in and delivers that same message, that is real. Like DeMarcus, a little third grader, Mom, DeMarcus Cousins told me I need to read at nighttime, so I'm going to read at nighttime for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the power of, like, what sports could do. And I recognize, like, not only did I recognize what I had, but, like, I then got to figure out the best ways to kind of use that. And the Kings still do that. Sports teams across the country do that, and some do it better than others. And that's where it really became fun. And now using soccer, I mean, we do it the same with soccer now, you know? I feel really, you know, the word legacy is a strong word and I don't take it lightly. But like, that's what I hope that I contributed here, is using some of that time and energy and effort that I've put into this town to try to make it a little bit better.
Oh, amazing.
That's awesome.
See, that's what I wanted. And thank you for what you do, man. That we need more people like you, you know, and you're the example for people around to step up and do something about it. But it's cool that, you know, a conversation with your dad is what sparked that.
Yeah.
Do something about it. I love it. I love it, man.
Sure. He's a good coach.
Yeah, that's the coach, right?
Good coach.
What you just said too, I feel firsthand, because I got super involved with Leah Tata Floyd.
You bet.
Elementary.
Yeah.
And we got to witness literally what you said. And Eric Armstead has he's been that guy. I mean, he's
100%.
put his freaking his hands on that school, and what those kids have to go through and see on a day-to-day basis is just tough. I mean, for like 3 or 4 years, I was really heavy in volunteering there. I was going there a couple times a week. Dr. Mondo and I started our own little nonprofit called Huddle Up.
Nice, yeah.
Where we would take whoever the sports athlete we can get at the time and just do these huddles up with the kids. And you're 100% spot on, man. It's like, that's such a relatability for the kids, and just to kind of get their minds off of things just for an hour.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's incredible.
But they linked so much of that of reading. Like, if kids can't get to reading at grade level, the percentages of them ending up in jail is like through the roof. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's direct correlation.
Yep.
You know, that's exactly right. I was moved by it to geek out one level more, and then I'll let this story go.
No, please do.
There's I've been affiliated with a group here in Sacramento. It's in every county in California called First Five.
Okay.
I'm on it's the First Five Commission. And they do great work funding. There's actually a tax on tobacco products, a quarter on every tobacco product sold in the state of California, that goes into a fund that then goes back out to counties based upon child population, the birth rate, child population, ages of kids 0 to 5. And so bigger counties are going to get a little more money to then give back. And you're giving back into programs that serve families with kids age 0 to 5. That's why it's called First Five. So Domantas Sabonis just recently kind of linked up with this group. He's one of the spokespeople now for First Five. And I mean, it does this incredible work. I was at a conference years and years ago, and this guy came out and he presented, he was a Harvard professor, and he presented this study that was done by Sesame Street University. Yes. So like Sesame Street is way deeper than what any of us could ever have imagined.
Really?
There's you talk about the Facebook algorithm and Sesame Street had the algorithm far before. Everything they were doing was intentional. Everything. And the study that they came out with was called The Power of Elmo. We all know Elmo, right? That stupid red, annoying guy. That for a long time was the character that just kids would lose their minds when Tickle Me Elmo, all the toys that came out with Elmo. So they did this study on children showing the power of Elmo. So like, here is a plate of broccoli. Eat that. Kid's like, hard no. No thanks, not eating that, right? Same kid, Elmo says eat that, kid eats it. And this is like researched, and the design behind it showing that like if Elmo is using his own power to tell kids to do good things, not bad things, good things, they will do it. And forever, that was logged in my brain so deeply that like I think about it constantly when it comes to like Eric Armstead and like the power of doing that. But it doesn't just have to be an athlete, in my opinion. It can really be people that have kind of a passion and a drive and just like if they are all in
Yep.
on truly feeling like this is what can help you as a kid,
Yep.
that kids will move with that. And
Yeah.
I've always been, I don't know, I've always admired that kind of thinking, and I for sure, well, learning that Sesame Street University was even a thing was fantastic. But I never thought the power of Elmo would come into an important place in my life.
On that same level, if you haven't watched this one, this is a good one. But they recently did a Netflix documentary on Reading Rainbow.
Ooh,
Similar thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it, but I watched it and the song just got stuck in my head.
I was with them on the weekend, and I was like,
we had like a double date wine tasting in Napa, and I just was humming the song all night. But I was like jaw dropped, actually, literally identical.
Yeah.
Of what they were able to do with kids and getting them fired up to read.
That's right.
They made it, and a lot of it was because they brought these characters in and they made it like it was like a movie.
Yes.
And I was one of those kids. I remember watching Reading Rainbow.
Yeah,
I was like,
100%.
Mom, I want to read some books.
That's right.
Yeah.
Give me a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's start transitioning. I feel like I want to keep on talking sports with you. We've covered some good ground of your time with the Sacramento Kings. Head coaches, you've seen quite a few.
I have.
Who sticks out to you the most? And when I say that, I'm not saying I'm not necessarily saying who's your favorite coach, but just all around human being, how they treated you, talked to you, etc. Which coach of all of them stands out the most?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, I started in the Adelman era, so. And I don't think I ever had one interaction with him. Like, I don't think I ever said a word to him, and he never said, he just was not that kind. Like, he was about business. You know, he was business forward for sure. And I was young, and like, so I don't even know if that was really what my role or anything should have been anyway.
Yeah.
But that's where I think I created this, like, oh, well, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Like, and then a series of coaches later, including like Musselman, I remember, and like other guys who were much more, Reggie Theus, who were much more like personable and like funny, and they want to joke with everyone. I was like, oh, wait, this is cool.
That's
like
awesome.
this is pretty awesome. And then eventually, Dave Yeager came to town, and Dave remains one of my favorite dudes.
Wow.
We were going through a separation and divorce at about the same time, actually. He had young kids. I had young kids. He was how about this for a full circle? So he was coaching in Memphis before he came to Sacramento. Eric Hasseltine, my buddy who I was on the radio with, was the radio guy, and they were close. And so when Dave got the job, Eric was like, hey, when you get to Sacramento, it's weird, but like the announcer dude, he's a good guy. Like, you should probably hit him up. So Dave and I text, like, I think the day he arrived. And we just had kind of I don't know, it was just one of those things that you just kind of fast friend, like a cool connection. We had a lot in common, but then a ton not in common too. Yeah. I mean, the guy was the guy that is up at 3, 4, 5 in the morning writing, like, I have an idea for a play. That's Dave Yeager.
Oh, that fires me up. Yeah. That's so dope.
Yeah. And I mean, he's just one of those, like, constantly thinking, constantly wanting to improve and like make things better.
Yeah.
He also channeling DeMarcus, like, he's got a little red ass in him too. That, you got to figure out the right time and place for all that. But I mean, he's still on I think he's the Milwaukee Bucks bench, right? He's doing fine. His life he's got a great thing going. He's healthy. He had a scare there for a while, health scare for a while, but he probably is one of just who I was able to kind of connect with and have that kind of awesome connection with. But watching Mike Brown is easily one of the best movies on television. I mean, just the way I love his sayings. I love how he interacts with refs, the way he coaches his players. And like, because he'll call them out. I know keeping guys accountable, holding guys accountable is a big thing. It's really hard to do in the NBA.
Yes, it is.
They're making so much money, and the coaches are making far less. And so why would I have to listen to you, kind of thing? But he is masterful, man. He is good. the thing he says the most that I love, and I find myself saying it when I'm like watching my kids' basketball games. So listen for it. It's really great. As soon as we miss, the other team gets a rebound. First thing he wants you to do, find a body. He yells it. He probably yells "find a body" 300 times a game.
Wow.
Maybe 200 times a game. I'll give him a find a body, and it's like genius because it's like the chaos is happening. And it's like, speaking of like the whole slow it down, just find a person. Don't get, where am I supposed to be and what am I supposed to be doing? Like, he doesn't like us playing like that. Like, he wants you to play. Get in the moment. So I don't know. He's so fun to watch, coach. He's such a good dude. He's good for Sacramento.
He's great.
We're lucky to have him.
In your entire career, since you've been doing what you're doing as the MC for the Kings, have you ever referenced back to, I mean, the Bulls days, like the song, the announcer, that has to be iconic,
Ray Clay,
right?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, he started all that for sure, right? With the song Alan Parsons Project, right?
Yep.
Iconic, and we were all watching at that time. I was a little older than you guys, so you definitely soaking all that up and kind of go back to that. My guy, actually, it's ironic that it's the high school announcer at Kennedy High School when I was young. My dad was taking me to games when he was coaching and teaching at Kennedy. His name's Hassan Hanks, and he called himself the Golden Voice. And so giving yourself your own nickname as a high school announcer is next level legit, by the way. Like, if you're a high school, he was a junior high teacher. And an announcer, a high school basketball announcer, and gave himself a nickname.
That is hilarious.
That's how next level Hassan was.
That's kind of gangster.
And he was great. He was really good. And the way I say things is very much patterned after the way I say fouls and the way I at the line and all that stuff is exactly how he used to say it, because that's just how I heard it and how I knew it. So I think I followed up with him one year. I did try to find him, and I lucked out. He was still teaching at what was Sutter Middle School, and so got to connect with him. And so he was great. So yes, the greats, Ray Clay, Bulls days, all that stuff. I mean, the dude Mason from Detroit, when Detroit had that good run with Ben Wallace and Chauncey and those guys, where Mason took it to a different level. He's still there too. By the way.
He? Oh man.
He was a radio guy. He's kind of a hip hop radio dude. He's great, like super big personality. You know, he's the Detroit basketball. Like the idea of like fan prompting and all that stuff was like, whoa,
wow,
next level. So I looking back, that's a guy who I respect a lot. But yeah, it's fun to kind of, we've all been connected up now because of 2K, the NBA 2K, the basketball, the video game. We're all in the game.
You're in 2K?
Oh, yeah.
So they had us record thousands and thousands and thousands of lines starting back in 2K23, I think was the first year they did, or 22. I can't remember the first year of the game with the announcers in it. But yeah, I got to be part of that.
Awesome.
I found myself down in a studio in Burbank for a couple days, like doing a ton of stuff. I have a rig in my house that I could still record pickup lines. So it's, that's also why my kid thinks it's cool, because his friends are like, bro, your dad's in the game. Can I get a free game? That's why. I've arrived.
Man. Oh, man.
I've arrived.
How was it announcing the first game in the new arena?
Yeah, next level.
That
last game in the old arena was also special.
Yes.
Like, a lot of nostalgia and a lot of like feelings. But going into the new Palace was just unbelievable, man. I mean, because of what Sacramento deserved and just how, just the fight to keep the Kings here in the first place. Those are some of those, times that you'll just always remember for sure.
Oh, man. And we want to start with the questions?
Yeah.
You got any more?
So the big question we would ask is, if you can have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would that be?
Oh, man. Jeez, that's a tough one person. You guys have answered this question yourselves?
I mean, every guest has.
I've answered it.
And who do you say? I just want to know.
So for me, like if I have a half sleeve tattoo of my grandmother, and I'm like ridiculously connected to her.
Got it.
So mine would probably be my grandmother, depending on my mood.
Yeah.
Or if I had to do a shift, it would probably be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling like, that's a powerful thing. Like, somebody that's currently living, or I don't know. So we've had some tear jerkers where it's family.
Yeah.
We've had some. Ray Young said Malcolm X.
You did.
Who would yours be?
Oh man,
Would it be
I
your
haven't
dad?
answered this one.
You haven't?
Yeah, it would definitely be my dad. I mean, he never missed a Sac State game. He was always up there and everything. He passed 5 years ago.
Oh wow!
And one of the things that's cool, and your kids would get the same. You're on behind a mic and on TV so much that they can listen to your voice through infinity. I don't have anything like there's some old videos and everything, but that's one thing that my kids will never have to worry about. They can get on YouTube and see some stuff there. So I miss my dad like crazy. So it for sure would be my dad.
Would he drive?
Who?
You said he went to all your Sac State games, so he would drive from Oakland.
Correct. That was one of the reasons. So I broke my foot my junior year in the playoffs. And so really the only
that was terrible, by the way.
yeah.
How do you break your foot?
In high school. So like I'm in high school and I had a misplaced bone in my foot. They popped back in. I had an air cast plan. So that summer before that recruiting year, actually the only offers were out there was Sac State and Northwestern, and then I had good enough grades to go to Dartmouth. And so, but I had everybody fooled. I had everybody fooled. I had great grades, but I hated school. I didn't really want to go be Northwestern. You had to sit in the front row of every class, and I'm like, oh hell no! Like that sounded terrible to me. But one of the biggest things, regardless of who was offering, my parents always supported, and the fact that I was far enough away to feel like I'm away from home, but they came up every single game.
That's amazing.
That was a big part of when I wanted to be in Sacramento.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's.
I can tell I can tell so much about you, by the way, just in this last minute, because you're the only guest that we've had
that turned it on you.
Correct. So that means that you are very well thought out. You're probably a very detailed guy. Very detailed.
Curious. I'm always curious.
Yeah.
And people interest me. I
I'm
you guys
with
probably like doing this too.
That's why.
I lost my grandfather, but I spent a lot of time with him. So it almost feels weird to think this way. I have both my parents still. My dad's father passed away before I was even born, but the stories about him aren't super awesome. So I don't if I was being honest, I don't even think my dad would be upset by that. You know, that it was my mom's dad who passed away right at the beginning of COVID. But I mean, he was 98 years old. He always would say oh, I got a full 18 holes in. So I'm
That's
good.
awesome.
Full 18 holes of life. He was a big time golfer, great golfer. I mean, was shooting in the 80s, in his 80s. I mean,
wow,
unbelievable golfer. And taught me how to play. My brother, made my dad a better golfer. My dad's an insanely good golfer too. My mom too. So even though I have so many sayings that I use that are still his, I was super close to him. I remember my childhood is filled with him coming to all my games, from Little League to football to everything. Even when I wasn't playing, riding the bench at Casumnas, he would come. I would probably, if I could take a couple hours, I would take advantage of sitting down with him again. Amazing. Even though I had so much time.
Yeah.
I would still want to do that.
Amazing.
I would still want to do that.
I love it. Great answer.
So, what do you think yours would be if it wasn't family? Dead or alive?
It would have to be a sports figure. I just like to hear.
I know. That's kind of like for me, that song, To Be Like Mike, during that time, it was so vintage and I don't know, it was just my childhood, the greatest moments of my entire childhood were watching Michael Jordan play basketball. I don't know, I remember being at my grandparents' house when they were playing the Blazers in the finals, and he had, when he was hitting all those shots, and I just remember my grandpa or my mom or whoever was there, they weren't tuned into the game. I'm this is everything for me.
Right.
Like I wasn't like, remember like like when kids got into WWF and WWE, like I was kind of into it. There was like some kids that like played video games. Like I played like a little bit of Nintendo, like, but like for me, like as a kid,
The sport.
it was like Michael
Basketball.
Jordan was my life.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I would want to hear stories from their view. Like
Yeah.
as I watched it and hear theirs from there. So it would definitely be that.
It's hard. It's crazy to think this. I actually, as a Kings fan too, I think I might say Kobe.
Just with the history that you shared,
I
He's
know,
just
and
so
a few of those
cerebral. I truly thought he was going to have a career that was way better than his NBA career after. He was so like
I know.
I never cheered for him. Like I never cheered for him. Like, but he is freaking amazing, and it hurt me when he passed because I just saw him as a father and what he was doing. So I think that would be it. Because over Jordan, I want to hear from Jordan, but he just is not that cerebral. I just would be able to listen to Kobe. So I think I'm with you.
Yeah, I just how he attacked life. How we've seen enough and heard enough, seen enough of those interviews that you watch. And you're like, whoa,
I
like
listen
this
to him
guy.
all the time,
Like, because I do feel like in a dinner, he would like.
Oh yeah.
He would use it too. He would like really like he would tap in.
Yeah. He
right?
He would.
It'd be like it wouldn't have to be like you trying to like, okay, so how was Lower Merion High School? Like what was class like? Like it would not be like that. Like it would be like just you would get so much from it, I feel like.
Oh yeah. You're 100% right. Oh, that's a good one.
What a loss
that's a
that
good
was,
one.
man. Loss,
seriously. And last but not least, we always finish every podcast here with your explanation of what legacy means to you.
Yeah, I mean like I said, that is it. That's a big word. I feel like I try to take that word seriously because in order to have one or make one, you really gotta do your thing. You gotta do your part. So to me, I mean, it's that someone can look back and really see and feel, experience something you did that truly changed people's lives or the community that you're living in or the world around us. But man, I hold that word pretty sacred to a few people. So, but I also love the idea that you guys are allowing people to do this and tell stories to like help to create a legacy around us too. Like, right?
For sure.
Otherwise, how do you know? How do you know these little jewels and nuggets that you're getting from every guest?
Yeah.
And I've listened to a few. I know I'd be remiss if I didn't. A guy that I coached Little League with, Nick Hauser, who's friends with. I think you guys are somehow loosely connected. Dude swears by it's like I remember I used to get excited about like television shows when they would come on Thursday nights, whether Cheers or Night Court or whatever it was. That's Nick with
that's so awesome
with your guys' podcast. So what you're doing to give people this kind of platform and pull out some cool stories for our region and beyond is just pretty slick. So legacy's an important word, and I'm glad you guys are attached to one. So
and just hearing you say that and hearing just your background with philanthropy, I talked a little bit about my experience with Leah Tata, and the director I was linked up with, she ended up getting promoted and moved to San Francisco, and just how life works. Yeah. I haven't been back over there in probably 3 years, but this is our podcast, and sometimes I kind of take that word for granted, if that makes sense. If I'm being honest, you know what I mean? It is a powerful thing. Yeah, it truly is, and I appreciate you for your words because just hearing you say what you said, it kind of just like reignited, like, hey, like, what are you doing?
Heck yeah.
Right? Because sometimes in life, I know for me, I can really at times fall victim to just being in the cycle, and every day, just things are kind of moving fast, and you got your job and you got your stresses, but what are you doing though? Like, what are you doing to make an impact? Yeah, and that's what's important. You know what I mean?
Well, and I love when people particularly like do the things you're also good at. Like, you don't have to conjure up some, I'm gonna go and help this school make some, like, no, like, take your gifts to people. Like, and let them do those. Do those with them.
Yeah.
If you're a good basketball player or a podcast host, show them how to do that.
Yeah.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, give your gifts to other people.
Amazing.
Like, let them soak that up. You don't know how to make it hard. Make it easy. Go the complete other way. Go the easiest way.
Exactly.
So,
we got to pull you out of retirement, dog. The people need to see you play basketball.
The silky jumper, bro.
Oh man,
the silkiest jumper.
Man, it's rough being on that court, but man, we can't thank you enough. Those kind words at the end are mean a lot. But at the same time, you're not only the voice of Sacramento, you're the heartbeat of Sacramento, but what you do outside of that, the impact that you make is just amazing.
Thanks,
I just love you as a person, and I can't thank you enough for joining us in the lounge, man.
Heck yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
Honor to be part of the family, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, you guys, we're out.